Coming up today, we were talking more about the China and the US extended pause for another 90 days and what it means for the stock market. We have a new trade deal with the EU, and this one's actually insane. We have a Fed meeting today, and it is an interest rate decision. So this is big news. And we got some more news on the stock market calendar overall. And 38% of the stocks report earnings this week, and that can make us make some good plays. We have so much more to talk about for this week. You guys do not want to miss out on any of this. Let's stay green this week and let's get started. And at the end of the video, I'll show you guys some supports and resistance and some of the plays. But to start with all this trade news and stuff like that, man, we see the SPY itching up even higher, making some new all-time highs, which is insane. I'm going to be watching that 640 level, 641.5, and 642.5 to that 645 level. To the downside, if we don't break past that 640, we might even bounce off of that. We'll be looking at that 638.5, 637.5, and then back down to like that 637 to 636.5. With that being said, man, have your patience this week. We do have a lot of earnings that can also move the SPY overall. And honestly, man, I'm going to be watching Apple's earnings to see how it moves because maybe we can have some good buying pressure. Maybe Apple can go to the downside and then we can have some good pressure to make some better plays with Apple overall. But for Apple, man, I'm going to be watching that 215.5 all the way down to that 213 level to see if we can make a break upwards or a break downwards this week. Maybe we can, but keep in mind that we do have earnings coming out on Thursday, the 31st. So that can bring the premiums up higher if you guys are option traders in general. We do have XRP and crypto going up over the weekend, but we do have a little bit of selling pressure coming in for these stocks or these coins. Sorry. And then we also have Ethereum doing okay, and it's kind of still an upward trend. Just watch if we break below that 38.6 level, we might fall down even more. But with that being said, if you guys do want to trade this, ETHA is a good ETF that moves with Ethereum. And then for Bitcoin, IBIT is another good basically an ETF that moves exactly with crypto. You could also trade MSTR and Coinbase, but more on that a little bit later. Let's get into some more news. But first off, let's talk about earnings because like I said before, man, 38% is actually reporting, and that can move the SPY overall. It is just a big week for the stock market in general. So honestly, man, I'm not really pumped up for anything today, but if you guys are, these are the stocks that are reporting. The Tuesday, we do have Visa. I got some Visa in my long-term. Starbucks may or may not do good. PayPal, Boeing. Boeing may or may not do good as well. They have been doing pretty good to stock overall, so I'm pumped to see how Boeing does. UPS, Spotify. We got PG coming out. And then Wednesday is going to be even bigger. So we do got the FOMC meeting. We got Meta, Microsoft, Robinhood, Applied Blockchain, Carvana, a lot of stocks literally on Wednesday. Ford as well may be able to move. But on Thursday, we also have another big day. We have Apple, Amazon. I'm personally pumped about Apple and Amazon. I want to see how they go. Roblox, a lot of people made money on Roblox recently, so you might get some continuation with some movement. MasterCard as well, since we have Visa reporting, maybe we can have, a continuation for these as well. And then we got some other ones too on Thursday, and then Friday we got ExxonMobil, Chevron, some fuel, oil stocks, stuff like that. I got some ExxonMobil as well, so I'm kind of pumped to see. But earnings is going to be big, and I'm very pumped to see how Robinhood can move if we get a continuation to the upside because we did kind of fall down, but it bounced off that $100 level, so we're staying above that $100 level with Robinhood. So honestly, man, it's going to be a big week and busier week, honestly, to say. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. I have a long-term that gives you guys 40 free stocks to outperform the S&P 500, especially in this time. And I also have, how to read charts, basic beginner things for trading overall, and how to make money off of $0 on your computer. So go check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off, and the courses are already relatively cheap. I can promise you'll make your money back within the first day of using all the knowledge that you guys learned, and has step-to-step guides too. So if we move over to the calendar, we're going to skip over the FOMC meeting and talk about that after we talk about some things. But we do have trade balance in goods, retail inventories, wholesale inventories. We got consumer confidence that might move the market on Tuesday. Monday, by the way, today we have nothing scheduled, and we do have job openings. But on Wednesday, we have ADP employment, GDP, pending home sales, and of course, FOMC. And then Thursday is going to be a little bit bigger. We have initial jobless claims, the PCE, personal income, personal spending, PCE overall. and the PMI coming out. That is going to be pretty big. And on Friday, August 1st, we do have the trade deadline, but we already have like if we get that 90-day tariff pause and that deal with the EU, I don't think we should even be worried about August 1st deadline. That's probably going to be for other countries, and it's not really going to affect stocks too much since we got the big trading partners moved out of the way. But we have the U.S. employment report. You have unemployment rate, hourly wages year over year, the PMI, ISM, construction spending, and consumer sentiment, final and auto sales. That might move, forward again if you guys are into Ford, but that is the calendar. But Donald Trump and Jerome met last week, and Donald Trump put out a paper saying that it costs a little bit more, and then, Jerome kind of corrected him a little bit. But there's a lot of memes coming out and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. With all that being said, though, Donald Trump did show optimism around rate cuts overall. So maybe we might be surprised, or we might see Jerome a little bit more dovish overall. With all being said, we are pricing in a 97.4% that he's just going to pause the rates. So don't expect anything big unless something changes. If he does change up and he does somehow cut rates or something, that's going to go parabolic for the stock market overall. But there is a 97.4% chance that he's going to pause. So keep that in mind overall. So let's talk more about August, next month. So with the data, we do see that August is normally red with an average of 3.4% to the downside. So you might see a little bit more red in August, but take this with a grain of salt, just like last data. Last data, we didn't really go with it. But towards the end of the month, we did see it make new highs even more. So we might see that towards the end of the month on July. But August is a little bit more bearish overall. And also September is a little bit more bearish. And there is when we can line up some better trades for our long-term and some longer-term option plays. So I'm kind of pumped up to see how the market moves around that time and pumped to get into some plays. So keep all this on your mind. I'm going to be updating you guys with the plays that I make personally so that you guys can, potentially get in as well. But it's going to be some longer-term option plays rather than, a couple of days. So keep that in mind overall. So now let's talk about the US and the EU agreement announced. With that being said, man, this one is actually kind of insane as well. But the deal imposes a 15% tariff on most European goods to the US, which is lower than the 30% rate that we had in the letter that he originally sent out. Also, a $750 billion investment in US energy and $600 billion worth of investment into the US, which is honestly insane, an insane deal. This is an ongoing trend and looks like other countries are falling to these tariffs, and we see a lot of other countries investing big sums into the US overall. So honestly, man, keep this on your mind and on your radar because this one is moving up the stock market already. And we could probably see some new highs when the market opens. Maybe it just slows down once again. But this week might be a little bit faster and more volatile than, last week. So honestly, hopefully we get some more volatility into the market overall. So this one is more of a potential and it's not set in stone yet, but I don't see why they wouldn't agree to this because this helped out both economies overall. But we have a potential and they are in talks to extend the tariff pause for another 90 days with US and China. This will look good for markets overall, especially with that Euro deal coming into play as well. This can make the US stock market spike up a decent amount. And check out the China market too. You've seen Alibaba go up. You've seen a lot of good stocks go up overall. So honestly, man, this can bring the stock market up overall and just honestly bring up certainty. And honestly, man, US and China and then the Euro and then we got Japan. We got some good deals. I don't think this August 1st deadline is going to be bad no more. With all being said, man, let's get to some supports and resistance and some plays. So we already got to SPY overall. Another stock that I want to watch overall is AMD, just because AMD moves pretty good and we did get a spike upward. So I'm going to be watching that 170, 171.5, 172.5, 173.5, basically dollar numbers, and that 175 finally. And honestly, man, I think we might get a continuation to the upside, finally break that 170 for AMD. To the downside, look at 168, 166.5, and now 165.5. If we break below that, look at 165. We might be a little bit more bearish overall. Boeing, man, we got the earnings coming out as well. So keep that on your mind because premiums are going to be a little bit more higher. And we've been seeing with some trade deals, they kind of agree to buy planes. And this can bring Boeing up overall and especially their earnings with potential orders and stuff like that. So keep that on your radar. But 235.5, 237, and that 240 level for Boeing. We're going to go big. But to the downside, 234, 233, and 231.5. So a play that I'm watching is going to be AMD. Of course, I'm going to be watching maybe that 165 level to buy a call option if we do fall down. But right now we're kind of pretty high. So I might be looking at that 166.5. If you come back down to these levels, I might buy a call option then as well. And then for Nvidia, man, Nvidia, I was going to look at 173 to that 172.7 if we do fall down. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient with Nvidia overall. I might wait for like a bigger pullback, and or I might just use some moving averages, see if it bounces off of that and buy my play based on that. Maybe the 50 moving average I'm going to be using just to get like a couple day trade with this one. So keep the video on your radar as well. We're going to be watching that 175, 176.5, and that 180 level for NVIDIA. It's moving pretty fast. I'm not even going to lie. We're breaking new all-time highs like every other day. To the downside, 174.4, 174, 173.5, and then that 173 level, of course. Apple is another one that I'm looking at, but the premiums are probably going to be higher today, this week, basically. But I am going to be looking at a 213 to a 212.5 pullback for Apple, and then potentially getting my call option then. We have been bouncing in this range, like I said earlier. So if we can make a bounce above that 215.5, we can look a little bit more bullish. And a bounce, if it fully breaks this 213 and then comes past the 212.5 level, we can make Apple look a little bit more bearish in the long term or short term. But with that being said, if we don't break that 213, we can get a bounce back up. It will look bullish overall, and that play will be valid down here. With that all being said, if we do break that 215.5, look at that 216, 217, and then all the way up to that 218.5 to that 220. If earnings can bring Apple up an insane amount, that'd be kind of insane. But I'm kind of hoping on having a little bit of a pullback with that earnings and maybe coming back down to like the 210 level just to scope out some good longer term plays. Next one is going to be Palantir. I was going to look at Palantir. It's been moving good. It's been moving great, honestly. We have a big upside. But honestly, Palantir kind of moves like in rhythms, basically. Like it'll move up and then up some more and then kind of consolidate and then move up, and then consolidate, just like we see, and or move down as well. With that being said, I'm going to be a little bit more patient with Palantir overall. I do have it in my long term, of course, but for short term trading, I might stay out. With that being said, if you guys do trade it, look at that 163.5, 165, 167.5, and that 170 level next for Palantir. If we do start falling, look at that 160. If we fall below that 160, look at 158.5, and then that 156 level for Palantir overall. Just have your patience. Next one is going to be a wild one. I know a lot of people that made 100, 200, 300, 500% on this play, but they basically played that $300 level. And once it bounced off, man, they made a decent amount of money, especially on Friday. As you guys could see, man, it just consistently went to the upside. It did fall down a little bit. This would have been a good buy zone right here, that 314 to that 315 level. But if you didn't get in, don't really be scared, but watch the same level to that 313 to that 315. If it doesn't go below this level right here, you guys can definitely play a call option. I'm going to be looking at a call option at around this level if Tesla still does good. But honestly, just having my patience here. It did fill this gap right here. But honestly, man, we still have a higher gap to fill all the way back up to like that 335 level. So keep that in mind overall for Tesla. Just have your patience. But this is a good play that you can make, but don't expect big returns like this one did. So yeah, just have your patience overall with Tesla. Another one that I'm personally looking at, of course, is going to be Google, just because Google is doing some big things. With that all being said, man, Google is a great stock. I want to see it retest that 200 or maybe that 199, I guess, and then retest that 200. With that all being said, man, I might be waiting for a play at around that 193.5. We're going to play it a little bit lower, but 193.5 doesn't look too bad, especially if you get a little bit of a fall down. With that all being said, if we look at how it falls down, sometimes it does fall down a great amount. So with that being said, I am going to be looking at that 192.5 for a call option for Google. If it doesn't break below this, I'm going to have my patience. I'm going to let it fall down here. And then if it comes up, starts creeping up a little bit, that's when I'll get it. I'll probably get this one 2 to 3 weeks out, maybe even 4 weeks out, just because Google moves a little bit slower. So it's going to take a little bit longer to get to your play. But if you could scope out a play at around that 193 and we test that 200 like next week or something like that, you'll make a decent amount of money off this one. And I do recommend getting into Google, but just have your patience with this one. It's moving a little bit more slower. But honestly, man, have Google on your radar. This is one that's on my radar. With that all being said, though, man, thanks for watching the video. Smash that like button, subscribe if you guys are new. I will indeed see you guys in the next one. Check out that course, first link in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's stay green for this week. Let's start off and have a great Monday, and good luck trading today, guys. Take your time. Peace out.